Hi. I'm really honored to be here with all these people I admire and among so many colleagues, friends, and peers. Many of you probably don't know that I attended my first APA convention sometime in the 1970s. With parents as psychologists, if you give a child a trip to APA in the early 1970s, chances are that she may be most interested in the hotel pool and the free stickers, buttons, and pens she picks up in the exhibition hall. Chances are, if she's in the exhibition hall, she may run into a psychologist, a counseling psychologist, who might ask, "Are you going to be a psychologist when you grow up?" And she'll shake her head slowly and say, "No, I want to be an explorer or a writer or maybe a pole vaulter." Like most everyone else in the world, she's not quite sure what a psychologist does. And if she gets to college, chances are she might come across those stickers in her dorm room sticking out of her Russian books. And she just might discover that pens with prescription drug names make excellent gifts in the Soviet Union when anything in English is the rage, when she goes to study in 1987 and 88. Just as the mighty Russian bear begins to rumble and revolution rushes in. And on those winter streets, queuing for toilet paper and Cuban bananas, she's awestruck by Russian resilience, and she develops a keener sense of beauty born of resistance and pain. And Russia forever changes the way she looks at her own Indiana home, her own country. And if this young woman finds herself in Russia in cold winter, she just might next find herself in the Sahara Desert in summer, in Niger, West Africa, where she does the typical Peace Corps routine: malaria, staph infections, camel riding, baking bread in the sand. And she discovers she loves teaching. And how could she not? With students who sit in her English classes, learning their fourth language, fasting for Ramadan through 120 degrees, and showing up with papers as crisp as their pressed shirts. And she may find herself listening to the wall come down on the shortwave in the desert, and traveling back through a dissolving Soviet empire. She finally lands in Athens, Georgia, nearly 3 years later, in yet another foreign land. Because she doesn't know what to do next, she volunteers for the Rape Crisis Center, for the Domestic Violence Shelter, for the Athens Tutorial Program. And lucky for her, she meets people like John Dagley and Catherine Norsworthy, who really do want to see her slides. And as she volunteers, she discovers she really likes counseling. And she does a master's in counseling and then a doctorate in counseling psychology. And along the way, she learns from amazing professors who somehow manage to be people too: Rosemary Phelps, Georgia Calhoun, Brian Glazer. And she knows she's blessed to have an advisor and personal cheer captain, Linda Campbell, who really gets her, who encourages her to keep traveling to Russia, to China, just to leave a draft on her way out the door. And she finds the ultimate unwavering support in Andy and Gail Horne, parents with whom she's fortunate to share her emerging adult life. And she thinks maybe Bowlby didn't quite have it right about life being a journey away from the parental bond, but rather life is one of traveling toward understanding, of grasping the purpose of one's father, one's mother. And she feels grateful to find the actions of her parents are the ones she herself wants to make, the beliefs she too wants to believe, and the responses she too wants to share. And if she spends too much time in the Seattle rain on internship, she just might find herself next in the heat of Memphis, Tennessee, perhaps the most authentic place in America, as a new faculty member, a novice professor. And chances are she'll realize her good fortune, the incredible treasure of learning from, learning with colleagues like Sarah Bridges, Sue Lease, Tom Sager, Doug Stromer, Tanya Israel, Rosie Bingham. And the blessings come in the form of students who want to come out, change the world, and pound social justice into the curriculum. And she marvels as they go off and make every world they touch a better place. And chances are, if she's a lesbian psychologist living in Memphis at the turn of the century, she might meet a few other queer psychologists who knew. And she might even be lucky enough to marry one of them, and she thanks her lucky stars for the opportunity to forge a life of research and teaching with her, to share a home in a community where there's no armchair activism. And when Memphis tells her she's not welcome to its family planning medical services, she becomes a parent anyway. And as she continues on this counseling psychology journey, she develops her approach to transnational psychology and continues to work in Russia, Uzbekistan, Kosovo, Hungary, and Romania. And every few months, she travels to Kyrgyzstan, where she works with 4 Yelenas and a Kanake, a dynamo faculty in the middle of Central Asia, where together they create an ethics code and conduct research. And these women constantly remind her to maintain her vows to give back, to recognize the infinite ways she's been supported in her life. And now she finds herself in Boston, the academic Disney World. And together with inspiring colleagues like Sharon Lamb, Lisa Cosgrove, Melissa Perot, Gonzalo Bascalupe, Virginia Harvey, they're building something beautiful by the sea, a new counseling psych PhD program at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. And they have great hopes for their counseling and school psychology programs that are steeped in local and transnational social justice. And if she happens to find herself in an APA convention in the midst of her life, she just might discover that as a counseling psychologist, she has become an explorer, a writer, and yes, even a metaphorical pole vaulter. And chances are that if she shows up at this convention with a 4-year-old Eden and a 2-year-old Joshua in tow, they just might tell her that the most interesting parts of the convention are the hotel pool, and especially the free stickers, buttons, and pens at the exhibition hall. Thank you very much.